Kansas Senator Roger Marshall. Great to see you, Senator. A lot of folks ask me, I don't know about you, but how did they figure out these tariffs? Did you get a clear idea, for example, to what extent are trade deficits, as opposed to just the reciprocal tariffs, a part of those overall tariffs per country?
Well, I think we heard from the White House that they used the trade deficit and divided that by the total trade, and it is a little bit confusing. But regardless, what we do know is that American manufacturing agriculture has not been treated fairly for decades. It's not fair that Europe charges my farmers and ranchers 50% tariff, India 100%, Canada 200%. Look, we can't sell a cheeseburger, not one cheeseburger in Europe, in Russia, Australia, or China. That's what's not fair. And we have a president now who's going to stand up and fight. Look, this game is early. This is just the top of the first inning of this trade negotiations. We're going to bring jobs back, and we're going to get new and improved reciprocal trade agreements done.
Senator, so what you're talking about is the non-tariff trade barriers. Peter Navarro has been very vocal about this. He was on Sunday Morning Futures laying it out for the American people this weekend. Ultimately, no matter what math you decided to use to try to get to a tariff number, in my view, it's really about trying to give a message to countries that you can't impose restrictive tariffs on us, and you've got to get rid of some of these non-tariff trade barriers. I don't really think the actual tariff numbers matter as much to the president, and I'm speculating here, I'm not in his head, because he knew that's a starting point and he's going to negotiate.
Yeah, Jackie, I think what he said was this was the high mark, and come on in and negotiate if you want to. But just listen right now, the EU saying a 0% tariff, but they're not going to let us sell any beef there. They're not going to let us sell any wheat in there as well. They're going to use phytosanitary rules, regulations that's going to keep American beef, American agriculture products out of there. So they're going to do other methods other than just the tariff. The non-tariff barriers, I think, is actually the bigger problem, to your point.
Senator, I'm just wondering, a lot of people thought that perhaps he should have started with the tax cuts, and then after the economy got a big jump start as a result of those tax cuts, then you come in with the tariffs that cause all these problems with the markets, et cetera. Doesn't all this, that what we're going through now, sharpen the desperate need to get that reconciliation package through as quickly as possible with the tax cuts in there front and center?
Well, I'm not to the point of saying it's desperate, but it's something certainly we need to do. We need to deliver on the president's
forgive me
promises.
for interrupting, but a lot of Americans looking at their 401ks may disagree with you on that. They are concerned. They're not all farmers out there, and I know you represent a wonderful state of farmers, but a lot of people who are close to retirement are starting to get desperate.
Yeah, I'm as motivated as anybody is to get this done. And I think that you're spot on. I think that we could use all the certainty we could get right now. Making the Trump tax cuts permanent, I think, would be a thrill for all of us. I'm even willing to talk about lowering the corporate rate from 21 to 15%. You want to do something to stimulate the stock market, that's what we can talk about. So this is definitely a tool in the president's toolbox, and I'm willing to use it.
Senator, there are reports out there that the president is open to higher taxes on the wealthy segment of the American population. 60% of Americans feel that the wealthy are paying too little. The corollary to that, of course, the facts are that the top 1% pay almost half of the federal taxes. So has the president been talking about raising taxes on upper income individuals?
Look, I think that all of us agree that the federal government has a spending problem and not a taxing problem. In all of my conversations with the president, he's focused on making his Trump tax cuts permanent. He's focused on extending the debt limit. He's focused on adding no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. That's what the president's talking about when I'm around him.
Today, Senator, as you well know, the president signed that executive order on coal. China uses an amazing amount of coal, but more coal consumption in China than any country in the world. They have 1,400 coal-powered energy machines working day and night, creating the energy that they need to produce the products. We have coal. We're going to have a lot more coal after this executive order. Might that be one of the bargaining chips that the president uses in trade negotiations? Use coal as a bargaining chip?
You know, I'm not as familiar with the coal and the trade, but I certainly think what coal does, what it does for China is allow them to have cheaper electricity. So I think that's one of my focuses when it comes back to how do we get more manufacturing jobs back to America. I think it's putting higher tariffs on foreign countries, but also having inexpensive electricity and less regulations as well.
Senator, in the final moments that we have, I just want to go back to what you touched on, which is that the president is focusing on cutting spending and also cutting taxes. But at the same time, there is some concern that what the House wants regarding spending cuts is too aggressive to get the Senate to agree. And so I'm very worried about that being a sticking point and potentially holding up a big, beautiful bill.
Look, I think actually just the opposite. As I hear my caucus talk over on the Senate side, we probably want to cut more than what the House does. I understand that we were kind of stuck in this resolution process, which has just outlined it. But really, I think that the Senate is willing to probably have deeper cuts than the House is. But let's see. I'll let the House knock their socks off, give us a good cut, send it over to us, and let us work on it. So I'm willing to entertain any type of cuts that they can bring to work us towards a balanced budget. That'll start bringing interest rates down.
Finally,
Okay.
Senator, between 54 and 58% of Americans have money in the stock market in some form, whether it's a 401k or individual stocks. Are you hearing anything from your constituents about their concern about what's happening with the markets?
Yeah, of course. You know, it is our retirement plan is in there. But I also think that we need to be this in for the long haul. I think that the market is overreacting right now. Again, this is the first inning of a long ball game. I think it's a great time to buy. And actually I have more of my friends that are saying, you know, is this the bottom of the market? Is this the time to buy? I believe in America. I think that our best days are ahead of us yet. And I'm in this for the long haul.
Senator Roger Marshall, thank you so much.